He leaned over the passenger's side and fiddled with the handle until the door creaked open. "Get in. You're at least 20 minutes from the next stop." Her clothes, heavy with rain, dropped on the mud-caked floor rhythmically. "I'm sorry I'm wet." He clicked a button. It lit up red as heat started blasting out of the vents. She leaned into the heat as it bounced off her sopping clothes. "I don't mean to pry, ain't none of my business, but what's a young girl like you doing out here in the middle of nowhere at this time of night?" She said nothing, leaning into the heat, shivering under her wet clothes. He continued to drive into the darkness, hypnotized by the river that flowed down his windshield. The wipers swung back and forth rhythmically, creating a soft melody of squeaks. "My mother," she said between shivers. "She fell, and the lines were down. I tried to flag down cars, but you were the first one to stop. I was going to walk to Skadel to call 911. "Nonsense. Where is she? We'll take her ourselves." "Really, if I could just get to—" The man put his hand on her thigh. "We're friends, right? Friends do favors for each other." She looked down at his hand and back at him. He smiled through rotten teeth, his mouth caked in film that rested on the corners of his cracked lips. His breath smelled like cheap beer and decay. She looked back down at his hand, cracked skin covered in grease, hidden nail beds caked in black grime. "Yeah," she said. "Friends." He patted her leg. With each pat, a squish of water connected with his hand. "Good. So how far away is the cabin?" Leaning back into the seat, she felt the cold clothes cling to her back, sending a jolt up her spine. "Do you know Markin Valley?" "Shit, do I know it? I grew up there. That's a long way from here. At least 2-hour drive. You must have been walking, a good 6 hours. "Something like that." The man looked out his driver's side window and turned the car around, heading in the opposite direction. "She's on the outskirts. My dad, he built a cabin shortly before he died. It was a gift to me before I was born." "He sounds like a good guy." "He was a drunk." "I understand that. My daddy was a complicated man, too. Maybe he was stressed from work and it was a way to lay off steam. My mama always said if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness." He would come home in the middle of the night, barely able to stand. On the days my mom would wait up, they were the worst. I learned to hide the bruises from teachers very early on. He placed a hand on her thigh again, creeping up slowly. "You're safe now." She leaned into the passenger side door, staring at the floor, and said, "I'm 16. "Well, you're a beautiful woman for 16. My name's Peter. What's yours?" "Alice," she said, staring at the floor. "Pretty name for a pretty girl." She said nothing as they rode in silence. Lights in the distance grew. A sign read, "Markin Valley. If you ain't try our apple pie, you ain't livin'." As they approached the small town, he broke the silence. "So, what'd your dad do?" "Pastor." "A pastor that drinks. Now that is a first." The drinking started after he lost his congregation. The church found out about the bruises and fired him. He tried to start a new church in our backyard. He even built a small cabin to host the service, but few showed. As he preached to empty seats, he started to find faith in the bottle. A tale as old as time. Now my daddy was a drinker, and a good one at that. She continued. The more Daddy drank, the angrier he got. Started talking about voices of the devil in my head. My mom put me in the room and locked the door, but I heard everything. As they approached the stoplight, a sign read, "You're now leaving Markin Valley. Hope you enjoyed the apple pie." She pointed to a small dirt road ahead. "It's down here." The man pulled into the bumpy road, and that's when she heard it. The sound of a zipper. A sound she knew all too well. The man gently placed his hand on the back of her rain-soaked hair and, "We're here," she said, moving her head. Standing in front of them was a decrepit cabin. The roof was rotted. The sides of the wood paneling were cracked and splintered. Behind the home was a broken-down building, roof mostly caved in. Sitting next to it was a rusted pickup truck suspended on blocks. An archaic statue of a car that once was, now a relic rusted from the rain. She got out of the car and motioned for him to follow. "Come, Mother will be happy to see you." The man zipped up his pants and stepped out of the car. As he landed, his foot sank into 4 inches of mud. With each step, the suction of the mud pulled his heel deeper into the soil. As he approached the rotted door, the putrid smell of decay crowded the air, filling his nostrils with the smell of death. As the door opened, he stood in horror. Before him was Mother. Her skin, black as coal. Her body, a gelatinous figure of throbbing bladders, pulsating, sucking, popping, gurgling as it shifted in his direction. Tentacles wrapped around his body and face as the whispers turned to a scream. As she pulled him closer, he heard the girl say, "Happy Mother's Day. I'm sorry your gift was late."